Hello, everyone. Welcome to Entertainment Expansion. We're your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Ferrante. Mike, how are you doing?
Well, Tyler, there's a chill in the air because it is that season again. One of my favorite types of discussions is what we will be having for this week, which,
Yeah,
if you
this is
haven't,
our annual Halloween film recommendations for all the horror lovers out there. Obviously, Mike being the horror expert of the podcast. Obviously, of course, he's you can just visualize him dressed up in a giant ghoul costume as we record this. We each standard episode. We each got our three picks of horror movies we recommend. We're going to go from lightish horror to more darker horror. So a little bit of a scale, but again, we highly recommend all three of our options. Mike, I'll kick it off with you. What do you got?
well, first and foremost, Tyler, you're gassing me up too much. I'm no expert when it comes to horror, but I have watched some pretty god awful movies in the name of horror. But to start us off, we are or I'm talking about Fright Night, the more modernized remake of an older movie of the same name, but this starring Colin Farrell as the main antagonist and vampire. You have the unfortunately late Anton Yelkovich. I'm gonna butcher that last name. Unfortunately, Anton was taken from us way too soon in a freak accident, died at a very young age. But this is a fantastic kind of entry horror movie. There's a lot of fun to it. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but all in all, it's a really good vampire movie taking place in Vegas, where you'd be like, all right, well, how does that really work? Modern day vampire. Well, Vegas, there's a lot of nightlife. So it's not uncommon for people to black out their windows during the daytime because they might be working nights. So it kind of fits right into the whole vampire atmosphere. And I don't know how Colin Farrell went years in his career without playing a vampire because he absolutely kills it. He kind of played like a modern day Dracula. He's very suave. He can talk his way out of situations. He can be very disarming with the way he speaks, but at the same time, he is a force to be reckoned with. A lot of good kills. Awesome, absolutely awesome ending fight scene between the Anton and Colin Farrell. Meanwhile, so the whole premise of this is, ooh, to unpackage it briefly, would be Jerry the vampire. I know, very common vampire name, kind of moves in next door. And he's from a very old tribe of vampires that you come to learn about, but they are tribal by nature. So his goal is to turn as many people into his family of vampires as possible. And Anton kind of starts noticing weird things about him. And then good old Jerry sets sight on his mother, thus the battle in a sense. But great performances throughout from the entire cast. Again, it's more of a lighter horror movie. There is some good gore in it, so if you're a little bit squeamish, you could still probably bear through this one.
I'm sorry, Jerry the vampire.
Yeah,
I wanted to let you finish first before I just pointed out Jerry the vampire.
yeah, that's actually one of the jokes that Anton's character actually makes
Got it.
because, um, damn, Christopher Mintz, aka McLovin, is also in the film, and he's
Oh,
the one
okay.
who really thinks Jerry's the vampire. So that kind of gets played for a little bit of jokes until they realize, oh no, Jerry's a vampire and he's a real son of a bitch.
You actually bring up a good point. If there's a vampire that can handle like the lights at the Las Vegas Strip, Las Vegas is like a perfect spot for a vampire with how common it is to black out windows because of the lights.
Yeah, surprisingly, it was a very perfect setting for it.
Yeah. But okay, Colin Farrell in a horror movie, it's not a typical movie for him to do.
At that point in his career, definitely no, because he has done more horror esque
Hmm.
movies. He
But
did
like not
one,
like proper horror.
yeah, he did one recently. It was more of an art house horror called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. But we're not here to talk about that, Tyler. Let me hear your first pick.
All right, so yeah, since we're going with the lighter one, I'm going to go with technically not a movie, but almost full length movie, Werewolf by Night. I know we're all greatly waiting a proper horror film from Marvel Studios with Blade. That will have to wait. We kind of got a taste bit of the horror with Multiverse of Madness, but Werewolves by Midnight from Marvel Studios is the first of their special presentations, where it's basically like a 50-minute episode. This is the first one. You have the Guardians holiday special in a few months. But this was surprisingly really good. It's directed by one of their more I forget his last name, but Michael Cangino, I think is his name. He composes
Mhm.
a lot of big films, a lot of Marvel films, and he directed this. It's a brand new cast. There's not a single recurring character from the MCU to appear in this, but the plot is simple. A monster hunter dies. He has a powerful gem. Monster hunters have to come and participate in the hunt. The winner gets the powerful gem to help with their monster hunting. And turns out, shock, one of them might actually be a monster themselves. So overall, I thought it was a great time. The black and white, it fit the story well. They definitely put in a lot of effort to make it feel like an old, like it feels like a campy 50s horror film, but there's also serious moments. Um, Definitely a lot more blood than I was expecting, which
Yeah,
does help the fact that it's black and white. They can get away with it. But I was surprised they went that violent.
so was I actually, especially a couple
But
scenes.
it was
Um,
in a good way too. So I was like, oh, okay, they got away with this. But yeah, I mean, acting was good. Some of the camera shots some of the action in this presentation, or whatever you want to call it, is better than some of the Marvel shows they've been promoting the hell out of.
this is true.
Like it was really good. Like, there was one solid like one shot take. I was like, damn, we need more of this. But anyway, it ain't too long. Again, it's one of the most violent things Marvel Studios has released, but also it also isn't super violent. Again, any blood you see is black and white. This is safe easily for like 8, 10-year-olds. This is kind of good for the whole family kind of thing, unless there's maybe like there's a 5-year-old around, maybe they might not like it, but it's a great
It
watch.
might be a little much for them.
Um, Highly recommend.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's definitely different from what Marvel has done in the past. One thing my one gripe about Werewolf by Night is how the werewolf actually looked. I don't know. I just didn't like the design. It's not that it looked bad or anything. Just for me, it just looked a little off. But
Okay.
again, it's I was surprised at how graphic they were willing to go with some of the fight scenes,
Yeah.
especially towards
With
the end, the final
with
fight.
the werewolf.
Yeah, but even with the sword, like
Oh yeah.
the
That
sword
was
lodged into that one hunter's head,
yeah.
like
And they
wasn't
let the camera
expecting.
hang there too. They don't cut away.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. But if it's all right with you, Tyler, I would
Oh
like
no,
to
please go ahead. What
pick
do you got
my
for your second
second.
pick?
So surprisingly, I have a movie that just came out recently. You can find it on Hulu. It comes from a long line of shit, and it is the new Hellraiser, kind of a reboot.
But this one isn't shit.
And surprisingly, it's not.
Oh,
It really isn't. I have no idea how they pulled it off. It's a fresh take, yet like it's not an amazing movie. Do not get me wrong, but it is better than the vast majority of Hellraisers. I would put it on par, maybe slightly lower than the first one. Had some good gore, had some good kills. It sets itself up for a definite sequel.
mm-hmm.
The the big twist. Sorry, I kind of have to go spoilers here. The big twist at the end is that the main antagonist, she's a recovering addict of all sorts, pills, drinking, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And she she meets this guy that she's been hooking up with and kind of dating, but it was all a plot from you meet the big bad in the opening segment, but it was all a plot from him. He hired this guy to kind of entice her to break into the shipping container, steal the I'm drawing a blank on the name of the puzzle box. I'm forgetting the name of it, but to steal the puzzle box. And it kind of entered something interesting. So the puzzle box, every time you solve a piece, kind of like a sharp knife blade comes out. and whoever cuts their hand on it is the next target, and that's who the Cenobites will be coming after.
I respect this
So
system at least.
yeah, so the whole twist at the end that it was the guy that everyone thought was dead was behind it all and just kind of paid someone to do it was kind of lame. But other than that, it was far better than anything else we've seen in a long time.
Okay, and how's the gore factor for this? I assume there's a couple of gory kills.
Yeah, there 100% are.
Okay.
But it's nothing too crazy.
And with you saying it's a reboot, just speaking for anyone listening to this, because obviously, like you said, Hellraiser. So again, it's not a prominent Michael Myers, Freddy, or Jason, but it's one of them long term, 20, 30 years films.
Started as a cult classic.
They don't have to watch any of the previous ones, right? This is a proper reboot. They can
No,
just watch this on Hulu and understand it.
this is a proper reboot. They don't reintroduce any of the villains. They did change the main big bad. Everyone knows him as Pinhead.
Mm-hmm.
No longer Pinhead, now just known as the Priest or the Hell Priest,
Okay.
which was Clive Barker's original name for the antagonist. So they mixed a bunch of different things from the franchise for this movie because they did at some point want like a female version of the Hell Priest, and that's what you got. Some of a little bit of a downside for me is some of the effects for the Cenobites were not the greatest. But other than that, movie was perfectly fine, a lot better than what I was expecting. I'm sure a lot of other people were expecting.
Well, we know the reason for that. It's a Hulu movie.
Yeah, it was a low bar. They were getting a whole bunch of shit movies that they were just pumping out.
Look, we should
Specifically,
expect Prey is the exception, not the rule,
yeah,
in good
but
CGI and overall effects.
but I mean, just for the past, I want to
Few
say
years,
decade,
yeah. No, absolutely, yeah. Definitely.
any Hellraiser movie that came out went straight to DVD, and it was released solely to keep the rights of the franchise.
Yeah, it's a shame a lot of horror franchises kind of end up like that.
Agreed.
All right, so I will go to my second pick. This will be kind of brief because kind of cheating a little bit here. This is a previous pick, but from you. I myself have taken your recommendation, and I thought it was so good that I'm recommending it myself. I'm talking about Hush. This is a little film from Mike Flanagan, Doctor Sleep Strange, or a bunch of Netflix horror TV shows now at this point. This is a film for Netflix, which, funny enough, when I actually went to watch it a few weeks ago, usually Netflix, and this is something I know, Netflix is usually pretty, they really like to throw around the Netflix original tag on their content,
Yeah,
even if they
yeah,
have
you
the
got it.
rights temporarily. Hush doesn't have it,
Which, funny enough, that was one of the first Netflix original movies.
which is weird, right? Because it's a movie for Netflix. You can't go buy this on Blu-ray. You can't buy this on iTunes. It's Netflix only. You think they'd slap the sticker on that, but this is weird. But anyway, movie itself really well done. The thing that stood out for me, besides some of the shots the cinematographer was doing, was the audio editing was fantastic. The back and forth of what any normal person would hear, like the killer or anyone else, and then what she can actually hear, what the protagonist can actually hear, because she's like basically 99% deaf. So
Yeah,
like even the opening scene of you hear the sizzling in the kitchen, all chopping up the onions, carrots, like you hear the slice, and then it just cuts to muffled slice. It's like, oh, okay, she doesn't hear the sharpness, she doesn't hear the sizzling, it's just all muffled sound. And the fact that they write the way they wrote the script, the situations where she ends up in where that becomes either a bonus or a hindrance to her is really well done as well. They thought it out. Using the phone, right? She can't really hear. So her phone would normally, when a text goes off, because she can't hear it, there's the vibration or the flashlight on the back, which I
yep,
thought, again, just small stuff like that, I think really works well. Some pretty messed up, like, like messed up scenes. I went like, just gonna be honest, there's not a high kill count movie.
no,
It's very much like a cat and mouse game for the entire time, but they do get a little gory in some scenes.
oh, oh yeah.
But definitely a good watch. I think it's only like 90 minutes too, so it ain't too long. It's a good time. Highly recommend.
I would concur. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I've talked about it previously, but again, I knew you would like the movie basically just because of how the movie looks and kind of plays out. It's a very different type of movie.
Yeah.
It is not your typical like. The funny thing is he made something that is it's not groundbreaking, the plot or the premise, but he made it something special and something his own. And I think that is the best way I can describe that movie. The constant going in and out of her hearing perspective and what's actually going on around her, I thought was awesome. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, you're slacking and you need to watch that. Like, not going to throw any names out there, but there was some people that haven't watched it for a couple of years. Happy you came around, pal. And I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy you enjoyed the film.
I'm just fashionably late, but hey, I think I am proof, even though I'm a bit biased, that our recommendations are solid.
Well, at least for that one.
Yeah,
Don't don't hold me on Hellraiser 22. Um,
I'm going to
so
come back next year. We'll hear my thoughts.
yeah, all right. Come back in a couple years. That's when I'll probably watch it. So finally, I'm talking about probably the darkest movie on my list, which is Haunt. It was originally a Shudder exclusive movie. It gives you your classic haunted house, or it is haunted house. So think of Hellfest, right? But a million times better. So you have group of relatively well developed characters and believable characters. They're not just, you know, slasher fodder. They find a haunted house attraction in the middle of nowhere, red flag number one, and it is run by legitimate psychopaths. And it plays out very similarly to Hellfest, but on a smaller, more intimate, and actually scarier scale. It starts out with them just kind of messing with them at first. Right in the first room, they kill another person that upon viewing, when they pull up, you see her entering the premise of said hell house. And just pretty much all of what they've done was just fantastic. It got you suspense. You had multiple antagonist killers, and the big high point for me was when some of the killers finally took off their masks. Their faces were almost replicas of the mask that they were wearing because each time they got a kill, the leader, who was a tattoo and body modification, or so that's the only backstory you get on these guys, would install an upgrade for them. So all the masks they wear are reflections of their real face, basically saying that that's who they really are.
That's different.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like this also, with this being your darkest horror movie pick, that it's probably not one I would enjoy too much.
It's definitely gory.
Hmm.
It is definitely gory, and it's kind of a mean spirited film in that sense.
Okay. Well, I guess to wrap things up, I do have my final pick, and it is a new horror film, and came out this year from A24. Written, directed, produced by Mr. T. West. I'm talking about X.
Boy,
Pretty simple title. So it's basically it's late 1970s Texas. You have a group of young 20, 30-year-olds. They go to a rural farm. They want to make a professional porno film. Not just the porn. They want the setup, the payoff, all of that. So they rent a part of the farm, basically like a second small home next to the main farm. Now the downside to this is that they haven't exactly told the old couple while they're there that they are filming a porno. They are not aware of this fact, and they kind of keep that on the down low. And throughout the film, the old guy's kind of weird. You mostly see him at first, and then you see the old lady, his wife. And this isn't much of a spoiler, but it's basically the main plot of the film. The old lady does get a peek at them, making the film, some of the porno scenes, And that sends her into a spiral where she gets very jealous at their young good looks, and because no one will fuck her, she goes to murdering. So, now the reason why I am recommending it, though, is there are some good kills. There are some good kills in the film. There are also some one or two funny moments at the end, but the reason why I consider this more one of the darker ones is, at least with my picks, there's a gross to this film, and I'm not talking just gore. There were some gross things, and just overall, I thought, and Mike, you mentioned this before, but like, and it's something I didn't think of till afterwards. It was, for the most part, a likable cast of characters. Usually in horror films or slasher films where they're going to die in 20, 30 minutes, they're assholes. Or there's like one trait about them that's like, you hate them. For the most part, besides one dude toward the end, everyone liked each other. No arguments, no fuss. They just wanted to go there, film a movie, and be stars. And I thought that was I appreciated that about a horror film. Because it's pretty standard that, like, I haven't watched Fright Night, but like, I take it there are some asshole characters in Fright Night, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. So I will also say, I will preface this with the fact that this is a slow burn horror film. This is not a traditional slasher film where it's kill after kill after kill. They actually do set up the plot. The first hour, they are setting up the plot, they're setting up the characters, and they're setting up the situation. Then when it hits night, the second half of the film, bam, you have the old couple roaming around the farm, and they got to watch out. So it's very much a drama / thriller first half, second half, full blown horror. Things are getting bad. But also, if you do enjoy this film, A24 is making a franchise out of this film. People may have already heard about it, but a prequel to this film focusing on one of the characters has already also just come out in theaters. And I believe sometime next year, they are also making a sequel to this film with one of the characters. So if you do watch this and you do enjoy it, there will be more films around these characters coming soon.
It's definitely quite interesting.
Does help it was also made for $1 million.
Yeah,
which for $1 million, it's a well-made film.
Oh yeah. So I personally haven't seen the film, but I've only heard good things about it. So let me ask you this, Tyler. Objectively, is it as good as as the critics say it is?
I will say, if I'm basing it off the Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics, which is in the mid-90s, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. This is a fair, like if I was to give it a Rotten Tomatoes score myself, this is very much mid to high 70s. It's good, but it's not. It's good, and it's a different take on a slasher film, but it is not, groundbreaking in a sense.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think we've gone on long about the movies that we recommend, and obviously, for this segment, we recommend all of these movies. So it's going to be a yes from all of us. But at this point in time, we want to know, what are your top horror picks? What are you going to be watching all week for the rest of October, actually? As always, let us know at Entertainment Expansion. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.